Reverend Denise DeSimone. Many of you know her. She's been here many times. But for those of you who are just getting to know her today, Reverend Denise is an author and an ordained interfaith minister. She's a personal mentor, a certified sound healer, and also certified in many other healing modalities. She's no stranger to our community. And from a medical standpoint, she is a walking, talking miracle. Having survived stage 4 throat and neck cancer. And it's a journey which has led her to author the book entitled From Stage 4 to Center Stage. 22 months after being warned she may never sing again, Denise sang to a sellout crowd of 37,000 people at Fenway Park. And I personally think that's the reason they won the World Series this year.
They won it that year.
And they won it that year, too. No coincidence. Can you sing for the Patriots this next week? Oh, so please join her immediately after the service for book signing out front. She has some of her books with her. And this afternoon, we are blessed to have her for a transformational workshop, Transformation Through the Sound of Self-Love. So I hope you'll stick around for that afterwards. But right now, let's give Denise DeSimone a welcome, a great Cape Cod welcome.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. May I move this? Would you mind? Okay. Unity has busy things, lots of stuff. Lots of stuff
At
to
your service, man.
Oh, grazie mille. All right, first things first. Anybody having a birthday today?
Yesterday.
Every day. Who said that? I love that. Every day. Pardon?
His birthday was yesterday.
Your birthday was yesterday? Well, you know what? Today is your lucky day. I'm going to give you a copy of my book. Come after. See me after. I'll sign it.
I will. And I'm on stage 4.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Well, you're going to have to hug me and let me sign your book. So it's so good to be here. I love this place. I love that Katie came to visit, and Mark and his dad and my new friends. And yeah, when I looked over and saw Katie, I almost started to cry. She's an amazing, amazing soul. And she's a personal trainer, and she kicked my butt. Many weeks. I did a crazy thing and signed up for like 2 months with her. Second time I went, I'm like, what was I thinking? I wasn't thinking. I was just following the guide of Spirit, right? That's what we do. We follow Spirit's guide. So I have this little thing. Now where's Charlie? I point it there. We've already leaned on each other. We've already called a friend. The bottom button. Oh, I know. This goes backwards. I love that we're backwards here. You know, I'm a little backwards too. As often as I can be. So the talk title today, you know, it's so funny because I've spoken so many times. I've spoken here. I've literally spoken all over the country at probably 50 different Unity churches. I am one of the founding members of Unity on the River up in Amesbury, Massachusetts, that Katie mentioned. And been speaking there, and we're having our 20th anniversary in May. Yeah. So come up, really come in, and there's a week-long festivities. And so, you know, after you speak, and I spoke many times at Unity on the River, there's a lot of times I don't know what to talk about. I mean, I'm Italian, so there's no lack of things to talk about. But when you're really want to give a message and share your heart and messages with people, I really do leave it up to Spirit to let me know what it is. And I have a healing practice, a private practice in Danvers. I do Reiki and reflexology, sound work, and always when I'm working on people and I ask Spirit, what am I going to talk about? I see this big banner in front of me. And the last time I said it, 2 weeks ago, Spirit said, love thy neighbor as thyself. But then there was a subtitle, how much do you love yourself? We'll get to that. That's a very interesting thought, isn't it? So there's a woman driving her daughter home from school, and she is going by this home, and her daughter says, "Oh, that's the mean lady's house. The mean lady's selling her house." And the mother looked at the child and didn't understand why she had said that. Now, the woman in the home had nothing to do with the comment the child made. It had everything to do with the comment that the mother made unknowingly and that her daughter had overheard at one point during their travels through the neighborhood, that this was a mean lady, partly because she had no trespassing signs on her yard, and more than the normal one. She probably had 2 or 3. And so the woman and her child had never met this so-called mean lady. They had never known her, they just knew her name was Mary. They might wave when they went by. But because this mother said that and didn't mean to taint her child, how often do we say something about somebody and we don't even know what we're talking about? We have no idea who the woman is or the man is or what they're up to or what they're going through that we might be able to help them with. There was a prejudgment there that the woman passed on to her child. You know, our culture teaches us to support people. Most of the time, if they have the same beliefs and outlooks and ideas and interests and viewpoints that we share. If they're like us, then we love them. Right? If they don't think like us, act like us, go to church like us, do what we think they ought to be doing. I mean, you're all lunatics. So we have a little corner on the market, but we are not immune to this by any stretch. I'm not, so I know you ain't. So our culture supports all of this. Excuse me. It supports us in maintaining this indiscretions and lack of knowing that everybody's the same. So we turn to Jesus, and Jesus, he commands that this cultural change be shifted. And he teaches us when you go into Luke 10, there's a lawyer that says to Jesus, what was he going to do? How could he behave? What did he need to do in order to inherit eternal life? And Jesus answers him by telling him the story of the Good Samaritan. Now, we all know the story of the Good Samaritan, right? But do we know the full story? We know, be a Good Samaritan means you be nice to people. But in ancient Near East, there was a division and animosity between Jews and Samaritans. There was. It still goes on to this day, isn't it? The basis of all war and disharmony is religious beliefs. I'm better than you, you better than me. Like Tony said, no one of us is better. Unity is a place where we are. That's why I'm an interfaith minister. Everybody's path to God is perfect. So, of course, we know some of the story of the Good Samaritan. There's a man on the side of the road and he's beaten very badly. And a priest walks by and sees that the man is not of his faith. And so he keeps going. And a little while later, a Levite came by and behaved the same way the priest did. And a little while later, the Samaritan came by, saw the man, and put aside what he knew to be true, that this man was maybe different than he, but he was in need. So what does he do? He takes his time, even though he was probably going somewhere that was important for him. He takes his time and he tends to the man's wounds. He gives him wine and he pours oil on his wounds. And he picks him up and he puts him on his donkey. Now imagine how heavy this man is. He's wounded. He has no strength. And this man, the Samaritan, puts him on top of his donkey. And he takes him to an inn and cares for him. And then when he has to leave, he takes the money he had in his pocket, which in those days was denarii, the currency of Iraq. And he gives the innkeeper the last bit of money he had, 2 days' worth of earnings. And he gives it to him to please look after and take care. You know, how many times do we not stop? We know we love our neighbor, but how many times do we not stop? Or we think somebody they're different than me, so I'm going to get upset with them, blah, 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 blah. You know, we can't let the troubled times we're in, and we all know we're in some really precarious times right now. Last week, my wonderful brother that I love dearly, dearly, sent me a text message, a political text message that was so out of line with who I am, what I know. I mean, I was like, I called my sisters. I'm like, did you get this text message? They're like, just ignore it. I said, Mother of God, we're in trouble. But he was different. And you know what ended up happening? We sent text messages back, and we're so Italian, we ended up telling each other what we were cooking for dinner. Find a common place. There's always a common ground, right? There's always a common ground. So it doesn't matter how busy we are. Look at the signs. Pay attention. Look at where we can make a difference, where we can notice, where we can stop. We're not going to change the world one person at a time. I mean, just little old us, but one person at a time. We'll all come together and the world will start to shift. And more than ever, we need it. We'll talk about that in a minute. You know, granted, the guy on the side of the road is hard to ignore. But because the priest and the Levite didn't show any mercy. Now, what is mercy? Mercy is really knowing somebody is hungry and finding them food and feeding them, not just knowing it, not just seeing it, but being there to feel it and fulfill it. Mercy is knowing somebody is lonely and finding a way to be a company to them. You know, sometimes we don't even show ourselves enough mercy. It's important. So Jesus says, who is our neighbor? You have heard that it was said, love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But in Matthew 5:4-3, it says, but I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. And is our neighbor more than just the guy and the woman next door? Is our neighbor more than just the person sitting next to us when we come to community and come to church and we learn that we are all of the same mind? Pretty close anyway when it comes to spirituality. How can we love someone who acts negative to us? You know, how can we love somebody who is mean to us? How can we love somebody that doesn't act the way we want them to act? You know, about 20 years ago, I started something called a daily dose, and it's a message I send out through a mail service every morning. It's just something I do. And it's a little quote or it's a story. How many people here are on my daily dose?
I love it.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Thank you. So I started this years ago, 10, 20, 30, 40 people, and now I send a message to 1,500 people all over the world. And at any given day, over 300 people open it. So we're sending out that message. If you want to be on the message, if you want to get the daily dose and be on my mailing list, maybe, Tony, we can get a piece of paper and put it out there with all my products. And you can just please print really clearly. I get home and I'm like, oh, I don't know what that says. So last week there was a daily dose that I sent out, and it said, if you're unkind to unkind people, you're one of them. If you're not kind to unkind people, you are one of them. Unconditional kindness is not a declaration of who deserves it. It's a declaration of who we are. Now, what I speak of is not easy, is it? No. But when we love God with all our heart and soul and mind and our spirit, and we grow to recognize that everybody here walking on this earth is a part of God's creation, and they deserve our love. You see, the good news in all of this is God never said you got to like your neighbor. He said love your neighbor. Like and love are very different. So as for how we do this, part of the formula comes from Apostle Paul in Romans 13, verses 8 through 10. Owe no one anything except to love one another. For he, and I always slash she, they forgot the she a long time ago. For he slash she who loves another has fulfilled the law. For the commandments, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not murder, you shall not steal, you shall not bear false witness, you shall not covet. And if there is any other commandment, are all summed up in this saying, namely, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Love does no harm to a neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfillment of the law, of all the commandments. It's nothing but love. Love thy neighbor. It isn't as hard as it looks. It's just opening up, being mindful. It simply means respecting others, regarding their needs and desires as highly as we regard ours. So I ask you, okay, so as highly as we regard ours, that's the rub for me. Back to the first slide. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Well, how much do we love thyself? On a scale from 1 to 10, while I take a sip of water, just think, 10 being the absolute. Like, no one's going to quiz you. How much do you think you really love yourself? How can we learn to love the guy next door or the person who cuts us off in the middle of the road and takes too much time in front of us at the grocery store and does all the things that, don't they know I'm busy? I don't have time to wait in line because you have 27 coupons. Move along, missy. Well, maybe that person's on food stamps. You know, we just don't know. Somebody racing in front of you and they try to cut you off. I have a friend who won't let them. I say go. First of all, I don't know what this person's up to. They may be on the way to a hospital, that somebody's ill and they have to get there fast. What about the person that blank? What about the person that blank? Fill in your own blanks. What about that person? Have you ever blown your horn on your way to doing something and you end up at a red light next to the person you blew your horn at? And you don't want to look at them? So you start looking at your phone. You know, oh yeah, and then you kind of cut your eyes and someone's waving because it's someone you know. No, I know you've all done it. How embarrassing is that? But you know, let me ask you, what if we pretended that we know everybody that intimately? What if we just made a pretend, even this week, that 20, 30, 40, even go up to 50 if you're feeling in a good mood, 50% of the time, pretend that everybody is an intimate connection in your heart. You know how much energy would shift on this planet? See, we can't change Washington, but we can. We can change it by changing here, and then we change it here, and then we change it in our homes, and then we change it in our community, and then we change it in Hyannis, and then it spills over into Osterville, and then all of a sudden, all of Barnstable, and it shifts. So how can we be a good Samaritan to someone else when we have a hard time being a good Samaritan in our own 6 inches between our ears? I'm not here to be negative. I'm here to I just want to wake up a little bit. And I'm not saying this just to you. You never reach the acme of self-love. It is impossible. We're human. Every 1.2 seconds, we have a thought. Boom, boom, oh, there's another one. Oh, there it is. Oh, da-da. Most of these thoughts, for some reason, because we're human, err on the side of negativity. I don't know why they figured us that way or wired us that way, but we have the power to move that in a different direction. We have to keep our thoughts pure as possible. You know, if we talk to our friends the way we self-talk to ourselves, we wouldn't have very many friends, would we? I know that sounds silly, but we have to look at what it is. What is it that keeps us in that mindset? Now just take a look at these for a minute. Do you find yourself in any of these? You find it hard to believe in yourself. Oh, I want to do this, but if I only could. Yeah, you can. God said through the power of love and God and letting go, you can believe in yourself and you can do anything. Do you criticize yourself? Some people do it constantly. And I'm not saying it's this constant every day, all the time. You'd be in an institution. But we're so critical of ourselves for no reason. So just be mindful of these and put your thoughts on notice. Do you experience feelings of not being worthy? You're excessively hard on yourself? Have you low expectations? When you look in the mirror, especially ladies, I don't know why men just get better looking when they age. I just don't know why. Yeah, you over there. I know. I don't know your name yet, but I'm going to know. Women look in there and they're, oh, my wrinkles, oh, my God, get the makeup. I never see makeup for men. You look in the mirror and go, I love you. Chapter 7 in my book is Take a Good Look in the Mirror. It's all about looking in that mirror and saying, I love you, and it's very hard to do. Trust me, I did a lot of work. Being sick, I had a lot of time to do this crazy stuff. You neglect self-care, for instance, not caring about yourself, what you eat, what you do, what you're working on when you're doing, what Katie could talk to us about all afternoon, about being really fit and taking care of yourself physically. We downplay our gifts and talents. I know so many people who are so talented. Think about one thing. What is your passion? Most people go to a job they hate every day. Don't do it. Figure it out. Go do something that your heart swells about. I'm not saying quit your job tomorrow and go broke. I'm saying get creative. Don't downplay your gifts and talents. If you thought about writing a book, well, just start with 5 words. Patricia Conte Nelson, who is an author of a book. You had to start with sitting down and writing 5 words, didn't you? Exactly. And then all of a sudden, before you know it, Katie, who wrote a book, there's a book. We have low self-confidence, low self-esteem. We're constantly craving the approval of others. Just a little ditty. I am one of 5 in a crazy, wild, fiery Italian family. My sisters and brothers are between 9 and 17 years older than me. People said, oh, you were a mistake. I'm like, I'm not sure I know what that means. And then when I was about 14, I got, oh, I get that. But I was not a mistake. But I lived my life wanting the approval of others, because with 4 siblings, as long as I did something that met their approval, I could be okay. I could hang out with them. Well, you know what? It took me to get cancer to realize I don't need anybody's approval. Right like that. You know, in those days, we didn't have a remote. I was the clicker. Denise, put on channel 5. In those days, 4, 5, and 7, that was it. Oh, get up, put on channel 4. I was a human clicker. People say, how was your childhood? I was a clicker. What's a clicker? Oh, forget it. You know, I'm gonna give you an acronym. And this afternoon, we're going to go over more of this. I hope most of you are coming. It's going to be fabulous. So look at this acronym, SAP. You know, when we pull sap from a tree, what do we get? Yeah, what's it turn into? Yeah, and maple syrup is what? Sweet. You remember this and your life will be sweet. The S stands for, what's it say up there? Trust. That means when we're back here, oh, shoulda, woulda, coulda, oh my God, why did I do that? I wish I had done this. Why didn't I go here? Why didn't I do this? Why didn't I say that? Which is where a lot of people live, most of the time. I wish I were this. I wish I didn't eat so much. I wish I was richer. Wish I were thinner. Wish I were fatter. I should have done this. There are people who want to be fatter, if you can believe it. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. That causes enormous stress. And when we're out there, what do we get? Anxiety. Do you realize that we spend so much time in worry that it's ridiculous? And we worry about things that are never going to happen. You know, when I was sick, I went to, just a quick story, I went to a shaman class. I had been taking shaman class all year, and I said, I'm not going to miss any of it. So I had a feeding tube in my stomach. They'd hook me up with a bag and sit me in a corner, and I didn't miss a class on a Saturday a month. And one day, the teacher, the shaman, said, Denise, will you bring us into meditation with some sound? So I made sound, closed my eyes, and all of a sudden I saw the Blessed Mother standing in front of me, just like you were here. I mean, bam, right there. And she had all these sheets. They were waving in the wind. And she took her hand and she went like that. And I saw like what people would say Shangri-La is. I saw colors I've never seen in life. I saw animals. I saw people. It was, the energy was the happiest. And she looked at me and she said, if you had any idea how much God loved you, you would never worry about another thing. Worrying is insulting to God. Don't worry. There's nothing to worry about. But if we want peace, we are in this now moment. Standing right here, right now. Right now, our lives are pretty good, right? And when you go out and you go to brunch or you're doing whatever, even when things are like a little wobbly, we're still okay if you just stay in the now moment. Everything works out, and that's how we have peace. So remember, we all want more love. We all want to love ourselves more, but wanting is not enough. We can't just want to love ourselves. We have to expect it. We have to expect getting up every day and putting our thoughts on notice that I expect to have a day filled with love. First for me, because if we don't love me, not from a place of conceit or boastful or ego, because ego means edging God out, right? From a place that this is how God loves us. This is how God loves me. I need to love myself the way God loves me. And then we can move forward. Thomas Monson from the Latter-day Saints, he was the president, he says, as we arise each morning, let us determine to respond with love and kindness to whatever might come our way. And what I take this to mean is, you know what? Love and kindness toward ourselves. You fill yourself up first, and then it spills over on everybody else. Because why are we here? We're here. God is not outside us. God is right here. People think, oh, I got to pray to God. No. God is right here. You know, one of my CDs, it's called Pray Peace. People go, oh, it's pray for peace? No, it's not pray for peace. It's pray peace. Just be peace. Just pray peace. Be God. Know that there's nothing separated. We are here expressing God. He made us and she made us so we could be here guarding ourselves on earth. I'm sweating, so I'm getting excited up here. Life is our perfect laboratory. You know, I love this next little bit. This is so important for right now. So important for right now. There exists today a great need for men and women to cultivate respect. For each other across wide distances of belief and behavior and across deep canyons of conflicting agendas. The willingness to see through each other's eyes will transform corrupt communication into ministering grace. It may not change or solve the problem, but the more important possibility may be whether ministering grace could change us. I bear humble witness that we can minister grace through compassionate language when the cultivated gift, I love this, of the Holy Spirit pierces our hearts with empathy. Pierces our hearts with empathy. That's a huge, bold statement. So here are some ways I just want to go over quickly. How do we love ourselves? Like, here's 10 ways to maybe think about it. Fall in love with yourself. When you look in the mirror, look in the mirror. Most of us go, oh, we brush our teeth, blah, blah. No, I mean look. Take 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 seconds. Look in the mirror. Look in the eyes of your soul. And think about what makes you you. You are nobody but you on this planet. That's why there's not 2 thumbprints that are alike. You're that unique. Eliminate self-criticism. Catch the judgments. Maybe after today you'll be thinking, I say, you got to think about what you think about. Do you ever think about it? Sometimes we don't think about it. We just run. I stop. I go, what the heck am I thinking about? And I say have a replacement statement. When your thoughts are going crazy and you're noticing you're not thinking enough, my replacement statement's the Hail Mary. I'm a nice little Catholic girl, and I love being Catholic. I love God in every level. Be kind and positive. This empowers us. Acknowledge your efforts. A lot of times we'll do something, people go, oh man, that was great. Oh yeah, that was nothing. No, it was great. Have fun. Let go of worry. I just told you my worry story. Trust yourself. Know that you know, and learn what you don't know, and then celebrate that you've learned. Forgive yourself. How many times do we not forgive ourselves? See, we can't really forgive another person. We have to give for another thought. I'm not saying you forget if someone harms you or go back into that same fray. I'm saying forgive. It's forgive. We forgive for ourselves. Be truly truthful. If you're sad, be sad. People go, oh, I can't be sad. No, if you're sad, be it. Be grateful. It's a gateway to grace. And take care of yourself. And in most of all of this, and I'm going to end with this, have a heck of a time. Have fun. Just have fun. Because the little Buddha says, you yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserves your love and affection. What do you think about that? Are you guys with me? Yes. So I want to inspire us all. I want to inspire all of us to keep our interactions transformational instead of transactional. Think about that. All of our interactions might not be possible all the time, but go out of the door in the morning and have the intention, even to inspire others by we're models for each other, right? Let your interactions be transformational instead of just transactional. Too much time, what are we going to get? How are we going to do this? No. When you see the person in line making $8 an hour and they got a little name tag, I always acknowledge their name. I always say thank you, Sam, or thank you, Paul, or thank you, Mary. And take a moment and look at them in the eyes. Just smile. And if you go get gas and the guy pumps it for you, give him $1. You will make somebody's day. They look at you, they look at the dollar, they go, I saw this for you. Oh, wow. It's so simple. Like, we can't change the whole world, but we can do different things. So I learned in my journey with cancer a couple things, and I'm going to close with this. I didn't battle cancer. I don't believe we should. I just think befriending it and I fell in love with my cancer. I made it my friend. I talked to it. I named it PIN, chapter 6 in the book. I named it pain in the neck, because it was. I had stage 4 throat and neck cancer, and it was over here, and they took my whole neck off, and blah, blah, blah. But when I started to talk to Pin said 3 things. He said a lot of things, but he said, Denise, stop beating yourself up for nothing, which I had been doing and didn't realize it. And when I responded, I'm not beating myself up for nothing, Pin said, it doesn't feel that way in here. The second thing was, the more you love yourself, the less reason for me to stick around. Whoa. And the third was, the more light you hold, the less room there is for me. So I went to work, and how do we keep the light? We are the light workers, folks. If you're in this room right now, something brought you here, you listened, you came, you are the light workers. And yes, we're human. I always say our spirituality has to make room for our personality. And because we are people in personality, we are going to get caught up in all the day-to-day stuff. in the Michigas, and it embeds itself, those emotions of fear and frustration and despair. They form blockages, so do the work. Sound healing, it's the way to get your vibration. So please come today. You will feel different for the rest of your life. And that I promise you, because I have experienced that. So we take this on to be the light workers, to go out into the world and to notice, how can I make a difference? Look around like the Good Samaritan. Pay attention. The last thing I want to tell you is I was down in Florida for 3 weeks. I came home last week sometime. I don't know, everything is a fog lately. I've been traveling too much and I don't remember where I've been. But I was in an airport in Tampa. And I felt so badly that all these TSA people were working for nothing. And I made it a point to talk to every single one of them. And a man said, with tears in his eyes, it can't happen. I said, it's going to be over soon. And he looked up to me and he said, and you always think those guys are like tough, and they have uniforms and they can like tell you to get out of the line at any moment. They were hurting. You could feel the hurt. So I walked through and I was talking to this other woman. And Spirit, I don't know, I just found myself in my wallet taking out a bunch of money. And I said to this young woman, can I give you some money? And she said, no, I can't take money. And I said, why? And she said, we can't take any money. And I said, well, what can we do? What can I do to help you? She said, well, if it's for all of us, you could maybe buy a gift certificate. And I said, what's around here? And she said, well, there's food courts or whatever, there's a little thing, but there's a Starbucks. We all like Starbucks. So I went over, I got in line, I waited, I bought a gift certificate so they could all have a little, there were maybe 10 of them, a little something from Starbucks. And I went back and I handed her name was Connie, handed her the gift card, and she had tears in her eyes, and we hugged. And I was like right on the verge of, I'm just a baby, really. I had to walk away. And we hugged, and I said, you know what, sweetie, it's going to be all right. This will be over soon, and things will, they'll find their way. She said, well, not soon enough. I said, why? And she said, well, I was about to close on my first house, and I had to let it all go. Yeah. What we just experienced here was empathy. So I went home and I couldn't go to sleep, and I put a little video. Maybe some of you saw it on Facebook. There's over 600 views on this 2-minute video I did that told that story and said, let's all just be mindful. Little old me didn't know what I could do, but little old me might inspire you to make your interactions transformational. And I got so many calls and messages saying, I'm traveling this week, I'm going to go buy a bunch of gift cards. I'm going here and I'm going to bring a bunch of gift cards. See what I mean? Just little bit by little bit. But it all starts with being what, Tony? Awake. Right? You and I talked about that in your office. Just have the intention. It's not, we are not here just for ourselves. We're here guarding on earth to help one another. So let's take a deep breath. We're going to do a little meditation to anchor this in. And just let your minds be calm. Let your hearts be light. And take a nice deep breath. God bless you. And let the chair that you're sitting in become the arms of the mother. And just relax. Just let yourself be carried on the music. And then we'll go into a little silence, because I don't think we have enough silence in our lives. And take a nice deep breath and come back into this now moment. Great Spirit, we thank you for this gathering. We thank you for the information. We thank you for the love and the light. We are the light of you expressing on earth. So be it, so it is. Amen. Thank you.
You have been watching the message from our Sunday celebration service here at Unity on Cape Cod, providing a positive path for spiritual living. Please join us every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. at 147 Walton Ave, Hyannis, Mass. And visit us online at www.unityoncapecod.org.